So this is all about notation here. It's not necessarily so tricky to do the math once we know what it's asking us to do. So notice here we have this. Do you remember how to read that? That f parentheses x? It works the same as y when we're graphing, but how do we read it? We read that as f of x. That's how you're actually going to read that when you see it there. It's f of x. That does not mean multiply.
Are these notes?
Yeah. And so that means that the question is it's asking us to find f of 3. When we say f of 3, notice the 3's in the parentheses. What's in the parentheses in the original problem? X is in the parentheses. And so the 3 is x. Basically what this problem is saying in a shorter way is you would have seen it before and it would have said y equals 5x. Figure out what y is if x equals 3. It's just a lot less wordy by using the function notation. So let's actually figure that out then. So first thing I do is I actually write f of 3 equals, and then we go 5, and 5x means 5 times x. In this case, that means 5 times 3. I put it in parentheses to show that. So again, the math isn't the hard part here, right? It's the notation, because 5 times 3 gives us what? 15. So for this one now, we know that f of x equals x minus 7. Yes, if we were graphing it, it'd be the same as if this were y equals, but it's not, and we're doing the algebra with it. And so this is saying that we want to find f of 10. The 10 here is playing the role of what variable? X, yeah, because you notice the 10 is in the parentheses, just like the x up here is in the parentheses. That tells us that it's the x value. All right, so when I write then f of 10, it's going to equal, now plug the 10 in for x, right? So it's going to equal 10 minus 7. And again, the math isn't the hard part here, it's the notation and making sure that we're comfortable with that. So I now go f of 10 equals, and of course 10 minus 7 is 3. So that's how the work looks. Notice as I'm doing this work, all the way down the side over here, I just keep writing f of 10 equals. One of the cool things about this function notation is that by the time you get to the last line, embedded in that last line is both your x and your y value. You have both pieces of information there. Now, a different way that you'll see the function notation used is with tables and graphs, and today we're going to look at it in the context of a table. We're going to use this same table for a few different problems. So go ahead and take a moment here, write out this table on your paper there, and then we'll use it to answer a few different questions about it. All right, now with that table written down, we can now go forward and answer this question. So we're being asked to find f of 4 here. Now again, the 4, is that, well, actually I'll ask you, which variable is that? What is 4 here? The x. Because remember, it's normally f of x. Normally x is in the parentheses, so 4 is in the parentheses instead. So that tells me that I'm looking to see when is x 4. And you can see it happening right there. And so if x is 4, f is 7. And so then our answer here would be f of 4 equals 7. We did the exact same thing we did in the previous problem. We basically answered the question, if x is this, what is f? It's just getting used to the notation that we're using to do it. All right, next up. Again, same table, so you don't need to copy the table again. We get to reuse it. I would like you to please find f of 1. All right, so again, in answering this question, the first thing we need to know, the 1. What variable is the 1 here? It is the x, yes, because in the parentheses where x would normally live. And so I look to see where is x1? Happens right here. And so if x is 1, f is?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. So f of 1 equals negative 4. All right, nice. Next problem. Please write this one down and then start thinking it through. This one, I gave you something that looks a little different. So in this case, the first question is always that most important question, which is, what variable does the 5 represent here? Well, x, remember, normally lives in the parentheses, right? So notice it's not the x. Instead, it is f. And so, in this case, it's saying if f of x equals 5, that means I'm looking to see when is f of x, that's the second row there, when is that going to give us 5? And so I look for the 5 there, you notice it right there. So the x value that goes with it is 6. How do you write your answer then? You go f of 6 equals 5. Then here, one last one based on the table. This is the last table one we're going to do. Then we'll go back to where we started from to make sure we remember that. You're finding f of 0. And once again, we start by asking ourselves, what does 0 represent? Is 0 x or is it f? 0 is what? X. Because it's in the parentheses. Remember, whatever is in the parentheses, that is x. And so it's saying, find out when x is 0. That's right there. So f of 0 equals what, everybody? Negative 2, absolutely. Now, as a final practice, I'd like you please to do these 3 problems. These build on the way that we started using our function notation by doing it algebraically, rather than just the table. Please find each of those 3 values. So, for the first one here, f of x equals 10x minus 3. We're asked to find f of 2. So notice then, f of 2 means plug the 2 in for x. So it's going to be 10 times 2 minus 3. All right, and so we have to do 10 times 2, and we have to subtract 3. Think order of operations. Which gets done first, the multiplication or the subtraction? Multiplication. And so f of 2 will equal, first we do 20 minus 3, because I do the 10 times the 2 first. And 20 minus 3 equals what, everybody? 17. All right, that's all we got to do, right? Okay, so let's go on to the second one here. We're looking for f of 5. Now in this case, that means I'm going to be doing 5 squared. Now I try to make a practice of always putting parentheses around the number when I plug it in like that. Unless it's just making it feel kind of weird, like every now and then it's a bit too much to put parentheses. But I try to put them in if I can, because later on it creates a habit that's going to make some of these problems a lot easier to work with. Because like if that were a negative, the parentheses would all of a sudden be super important. Okay, so I got f of 5 equals 5 squared. Great, so f of 5 equals, what is 5 squared? 25. Because 5 squared just means 5 times itself. So 5 times 5. All right, and our last one. F of 0 equals 4 times 0 plus 7. And again, do the multiplication first. So I do the 4 times 0, which is 0. And then f of 0 finally is 7.